Good morning. Welcome, brokers and realtors, to Panama. My name is Daniel Sinibrio. I'm a managing partner and director of Capital Assets Fiduciary Services. Fiduciary and trust company regulated by the Panamanian Banking Superintendents, incorporated in 2013. We're here to talk to you about the escrow. The escrow is the global standard in conditioning a transaction. I believe you guys utilize it in the US regularly. Here would be the same process. We basically protect the interests of all the parties, the brokers, the buyer and the seller, and any other intermediaries depending on the transaction. Basically, we take the promissory purchase agreement. We do an escrow agreement based on it. If the escrow agreement says that we have to pay a broker in Tennessee 2.5% on the down payment, we execute that payment. If it's a cash buyer, we receive the cash. We give the payment to the promoter. We issue the promissory payment notice so that the transaction is conditioned to the transfer of the title on the 2 and 3% taxes and the, the pasisalvo, the maintenance and water proof that there's no pending tab. So yes, basically it's, again, we're regulated by the Banking Superintendency. The client does not have to come to Panama. I can give you a very quick example. You told me today that you have an American client in California that's wanting to buy a property here at the beach. We do the same due diligence that any institution would do. Proof of origin of funds, proof of address, the promissory purchase, and then from there we can receive the funds. The client doesn't have to come to Panama. We can provide an escrow account for them to send the funds, and then we execute based on the promissory agreement. If it's 30% down, 70% upon transfer title, we issue the first payment, a wire, a check, whatever, and then we issue a promissory note from a local bank. So your client has the transaction conditioned to transfer of title, which is the way any other institution would do it here. But the person does not have to come. They don't have to have a bank account. They can, of course, open a bank account if they want to stay in the country and all that. But for the purposes of purchasing real estate, they do not have to be here, nor do the brokers. We can do everything via email and correspondence. So it's a very secure and standardized way to close a transaction. Here's a little bit about the company. Like I said, we were founded in 2013. We're regulated by the Banking Superintendency. Only fiduciaries and banks with general license can provide escrow transactions. Not a law firm, a trust company. It's different. We have to report our transactions to the Banking Superintendency. So it's not that you met me here and you trust my content. We report monthly all the transactions. You have a place to go and receive support if something does not occur. It's not based on faith. It's based on the law. Also, of course, fiduciary means trust mandate. But besides, we have the law that backs everybody up. I think everybody understands how the escrow works. Again, it's based on the promissory purchase agreement. We just receive the agreement, and if it says there's a broker from Vermont and a broker from Panama, we just execute the transaction. I don't know if you have any questions. Feel free to interrupt me along the way. Go ahead.
Just curious if you have like an encrypted signing system, like in the US we have like DigiSign or something like that.
For the signature of the documents?
Yes.
No. Well, we can have an electronic signature for sure.
Yeah.
Like one of those Adobe secured signatures.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Also, depending on the state you're in, sometimes it was mentioned before that you have to apostille or legalize some documents. Only the trust contract needs to be notarized. So an escrow agreement doesn't need to be notarized. We can have electronic signature or a scanned signature. There doesn't have to be any physical presence. Yes.
When the client signs the deed, they have to be here, or you can do that?
The purchase agreement,
No, the deed.
the title deed, the transfer of the title, I think it gets transferred in public registry, right?
Yes, but it has to be somebody to sign it, so in that case.
No, it's whoever signs the promissory agreement. So if it's a corporation, for example, and your firm is representing the representative of the corporation. The escrow is mostly a banking transaction. So what we're doing is we're ensuring the promissory purchase agreement. Again, it's similar process to an escrow done in the States. I guess with the main difference that in the States it's the lawyer that has the escrow account. Here it's a fiduciary company. So it's a conditioning of the transaction. Neither the buyer is getting all the funds, nor is getting the property, nor is the seller getting all the funds. You know? But we issue a promissory letter from any local bank, and that letter is conditioned to 2 and 3% property tax, water and maintenance, bills being settled, and of course the transfer of the title. This is mainly for a cash buyer who doesn't need a mortgage. But we can, with the mortgage brokers here or with different banks, we can provide support if needed. But this is mostly a transaction for somebody who wants to buy and doesn't have banking services in Panama, which can take a while to set up. We work with multi-currencies. I know we're talking about US dollar, but we receive francs, euros, yen. And again, we protect the interests of the party. So the realtor sends us the promissory purchase, we do the escrow agreement, we put the terms there, we put the realtor's name. So if they are owed money, we have to make sure that we pay them. So for the international brokers, it's an insurance policy to use an escrow account, because we have to execute the terms. Any questions?
Is there a title company to work with as well?
Public registry. In Panama, it's the public registry that holds the titles. So that's the equivalent of a title company and the so-called title insurance. You don't need title insurance. Basically, they can't cash the letter or the check until the property is transferred over. So it's a condition payment. Anything else? Yes.
What about in the event of dispute between the buyer and the seller? How does your company go about distributing or returning the funds?
We have to deal with the reasonable and prudent person theorem or the responsible parent. So we're not gonna make any arbitrary decisions, you know. We have a full service law firm backing us. My partner is a law firm with 60 years in the market. But our role is not to take sides per se. We're a neutral intermediary, and we will execute according to court decisions. You know, we're not going to be arbitrary. Of course, I know who's giving me the funds, and you know, our role is to defend the interests of the parties.
So who's the final decision maker?
The law. But I mean, the trust has a lot. The fiduciary has a lot to do with it because we did, you know.
You're holding the money, I would imagine you do.
Right, but we control the funds. So if you're sending me the funds and then you have a dispute, I'm not going to proceed. You know, we're not going to blindly follow a document if one of the parties has an inquiry or an issue. You know.
I'm from Florida, and so I'm asking because I need clarity. In Florida, buyers sign a contract with the seller. Our escrow agent is a title company who is doing all the background research for liens and whatnot. So here in Panama, the buyer gets under contract, new, let's call it resale, because I know we have a lot of new, what we're focusing on, but I'd like the knowledge of resale please also. So the buyer and seller agree, there's a purchase contract, which there's a different name for it here, okay?
It's the same name, promissory purchase agreement.
Okay, so the buyer is going to put money in escrow, that would be through you.
Yes.
Who's doing the, I know they mentioned it earlier.
We're gonna do it regardless of if the parties are doing any research or not. Our legal team is going to investigate all of the parties. So if there's two corporations, one buying, one selling, we're gonna investigate in the public registry, which is public information, all of the details of both corporations. Validity, folio, numero, all of the legal documentation, plus we're going to check the asset as well.
Okay.
So we have to make sure that everything is in order. So we're gonna make sure there's no liens or holes on the property, who owns it, who doesn't. We have access to all that information in the public registry.
Okay, at what point would a buyer need an attorney in Panama for a purchase?
Well, we have our legal team that's going to, basically we're gonna be an attorney for whoever hires us. So, because we have to go through the legal paperwork and make sure everything's in order, so we're gonna provide legal counsel on our end.
Okay,
So you don't need one, basically.
okay, you would then need an attorney if you need any type of residency things.
Yes, of course, but I mean, it's very simple as well. I mean, we have plenty of lawyers that can help you with that. We can do it in-house as well. In fact, for immigration transactions, they want you to open a trust account and put money in it. We're also asset managers, regulated as asset managers, so we can open an account, we can manage, and we're authorized to manage an account. We can invest that account locally or internationally. Before you asked, the gentleman next to you asked, what are the benefits of having a bank account in Panama? Well, interest earned is non-taxable, so that's a benefit. On your savings account, that 2% you make on savings, non-taxable. You open a time deposit, non-taxable. You buy fixed income from the local securities market, non-taxable. So there are plenty of benefits. Okay, I guess my time is up, so